Welcome to VW 6.2. Before we start, let's review a couple of things from last class. Over here, let's write down what we recall about multiplicity. Recall there is even and then there's odd. Even is going to be when you have behavior like this. And we call that a touch. And that occurs when you have a multiplicity of 2, 4, 6, 8, ... Now if it's odd, that's when we have something that looks like this. And we're focusing on the axis right there. So this is your x-axis. And notice how it's going to cross. And it looks like this, like a line right here, when the multiplicity is 1. So write M1 right there. We do need to make a distinction if the multiplicity were 3, 5, 7, ... So every odd number past 1. In that situation, it's going to behave like a cubic curve, like that. So it'll kind of cube through it. And we're going to see that today. So that's our multiplicity review. And again, both of these are forms of crossing your axis. The next thing to review is going to be our end behavior chart. And write down ax to the n, that's going to be your LT. So a couple things can happen. You write a is greater than 0 here, a is less than 0 here. Then you're going to write n is even, n is odd. If it's even, both the arrows are up and it's positive. If you negate it, then you flip them. If n is positive, if n is odd and a is positive, then it's going to look like this, down and up, then flip it if it's negative. Okay, so that's a quick review on some basic concepts we're going to need to do. So problem number 1, analyze the graph of this function. So in this video, we're actually going to graph it start to finish. So the first thing you're going to want to do is draw an info box. Essentially, you're going to make a rectangle. So I'm going to make a rectangle like this, and I recommend you do the same. In the rectangle, we're going to put all this information that's stated up here. For x-intercept, we typically put z for zeros. So let's solve that mentally. That'd be -1/2, +3. The multiplicity is going to be 1 and 2, and that's going to mean a cross and a touch. The y-intercept, plug in 0 in your head, you're going to get 9. And the next part is degree and max turning point. Degree, I can see a degree should be 3. That's because you're going to get an x squared right here. And this is going to be a 2x. So 2x to the third is the leading term, and your 3 is your degree. The max turning point is just -1 off of that. So that's 2. And then our leading term, as we said earlier, that's 2x to the third, which means the end behavior is down and up, because you'll notice that this is positive and this is x to the third. Okay, so let's make our rectangle a little bit more fitting right about there. So there's our info box. And you'll see in our class we use info boxes a lot just to organize everything. Now let's graph. So notice I'm just going to do a sketch. And what you're going to want to really focus on is start with your end behavior. That's really going to help you focus on how the graph should look. So I'm going to start by just putting my arrows down. I'm just going to put a down and an up, and that tells me that that's what's happening at the ends of the graph. From there, you plot the zeros, and you're going to use multiplicity. In fact, I'll make it a little more specific. We're going to plot intercepts. That way we get the y one too. So -1/2, I'll just say that's about here. And then 3, we'll say that's about here. And then 9, we'll just say that's about here. So when I approach -1/2, look right here, it should cross, and then as I approach 3, it's going to touch. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to cross through -1/2. I'm going to hit 9. I'm going to approach 3, and I have to touch because of the multiplicity, and there's our graph. So of course, this isn't perfectly accurate. We're just doing a rough estimate of what the graph should look like. And that is the answer there. Let's try another one. This one you'll see is a little bit different. Let's start by making our info box. So make a rectangle. Our zeros are going to be 0, 4, -1. The multiplicity is going to be 2, 1, 3. That's going to be a touch, across, and across. And our y-intercept is going to be 0, because you can see if I plug 0 right here, that's 0 times all this stuff, which will make it 0. Our degree, this is interesting because I have a squared, this is a 1 and a 3. That makes your degree 6. So subtract 1 to get your max turning point, 5. And your leading term, you gotta be careful here. X squared, you have a negative x here, and you have x to the third here. So notice how I'm just taking the x out of all these. Put all these together, and you're gonna get negative x to the 6th power, which means your end behavior is down, down. Okay, so that's all the information we need. So I'll make our box a little bit nicer. Now let's graph. So we'll do the same thing we did last time. We're going to start with our arrows, our end behavior. So I'm just going to put down and down. We'll adjust it if we have to. The zeros and the y-intercept. So we have 0 and then 4. Let's put 4 like over here. And then -1. And we're going to connect it now. So as I approach -1, I'm going to cross, but notice how the multiplicity is 3, which means you're going to cross in a very particular way. We're going to actually cube through it. So like we're going to approach, we're going to get flat and make like a cubic curve, like that. So if you really zoom in, you can see I made a cubic curve. I didn't just cross it like a line. And then I need to hit 0, so I'm going to start curving it down. And I'm going to touch 0 like that. And now I'm going to approach 4, and 4 is a regular cross because the multiplicity is 1. And there's our graph. So over here, that's a little pointy, so I'm going to try to round this off a little bit. You don't want any points on your graph. Everything should be smooth. And that's it. That is our rough estimate of what the graph should look like. So let me know if you have any questions on this one, and I'll see you in class.